welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. I'm Jordan.
I'm Aaron.
Can I bet?
All right, question of the day. We're going to get right into it. If you could have a walk-up song like baseball style every time you walked into a room, what would it be?
Oh my God, I actually have thought about this before too. Okay, so one song I think that's really good. You'd have to like cut it properly, of course, but "Ladies and Gentlemen" by Saliva. I'm a rock fan, and I think that'd be a really cool walk up song.
All right, I like it. Matt, how about you?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is the solo and Stairway to Heaven. I mean,
All right, all right, that's fair. I like it. I'm going outside. There's no real reason for it. I just think it'd be a great walk-up song. It's a good classic song. I'm gonna go with "Your Love" by The Outfield.
Okay.
I just think, that song gets people, every time that song comes on in a bar, people are singing, you know? I mean, I've never heard that song come on and not seen people sing along. So, hey, maybe it gets everyone in the mood. But, hey, we had a busy weekend this weekend. Anyone do anything fun or anything like that?
I watched on Saturday. I watched the Kings blow a 21-point lead at basically halftime, or 2 minutes left in the first half, and then lose to the Sixers. And then Sunday, I watched one heck of a 49ers game. I was working during the first game, but the second game, that 49ers game, grabbed some pizza with one of my friends who's a Bengals fan, so he was already in a good mood. And so it was a great game. I'm super happy to be in the NFC Championship again, and looking forward to seeing what they can do against Philly.
All right. Matt, how about you?
I just watch football.
All right. I like it. That's kind of what I did. We did have, I know you guys have known this for a little bit, and I put it on social media, so I guess the cat's out of the bag. But for those watching the show, we made the announcement that I found out in December that I'm going to be a dad. So, that's, I guess, my formal announcement on the Sports Jam, even though that's no surprise to you guys. But baby's
Congratulations.
due in September. So if you guys are, seeing me at a football game, you may see me dart off in the second quarter in early September. It's because Beyonce's going into labor. So, but thank you guys, and yeah, it's a weird feeling, but a cool feeling. So, and hey, speaking of kids, we had a lot of high school kids playing some sports this week. A big week, especially in league play. It felt like there were a lot of big matchups and matchups that really kind of shaped up. And I think this was kind of the first half of league for most leagues kind of wrapped up this last week. And I think the picture of some of these leagues is starting to get kind of clear. Aaron, let's start with you. I know you were at some big games with the CVC, and I think you covered pretty much every major league. You got CVC, SFL, and and FBL. Let's start with where you were on Monday. What was the game you were at, and what'd you see?
Yeah, I'll go through my first half of the week. So yeah, Monday, I did end up making the drive up to Yuba City, where the Roseville girls team faced the Honkers. At the time, Roseville had won 7 out of 8 games. Lady Tigers played well in the game. I will say they did kind of struggle down the stretch. They were up like 10 with like a minute to play, and they only ended up winning by 4, 52-48. Lalana Madrid been playing really well for Roseville. She had 28, and so the Tigers won that game. They won 8 out of 9. They then had to go through the gauntlet later in the week against Antelope and Wood Creek and lost both of those games. I mean, those are two of the better teams in the entire section, but Roseville still looks good. If they can hold on, and I think if the top 4 teams make it to the postseason in the CVC, and they're looking pretty good in that spot right now. So that was how Monday went. And then Tuesday, I went to another girls' basketball game. I was at Whitney as they took on Oak Ridge, and this was a very competitive game. And basically, what could be a battle for second in the SFL. I know that we were joking last week, and I think I said like 60-52, and then we went 50-42 for Matt, and then Jordan, you joked and said, well, I'm going to go 40-32, and ironically, Jordan, you actually ended up being the closest out of all 3 of us because it was 38-35 Oak Ridge. Whitney played phenomenal defense. They forced 21 Oak Ridge turnovers. Problem for Whitney is they just couldn't hit their shots, especially free throws, as they were 8 of 18. Wildcats are now 3rd in the SFL. They'll need to beat Oak Ridge and El Dorado Hills to fight for second place. But just a really good game. Could have gone either way. Whitney actually had a couple of shots right at the end of the game. Harper Peterson shot a three, hit back iron, was rebounded by Kendall Dykstra. She took it out to the 3-point line in the corner and missed that and hit the iron. I mean, so could have gone either way. Really good game. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what both of those teams can do going forward.
All right, Matt, over to you. First half of your week. I know you had some busy stuff going on too, especially in hoops, but talk to me with where you were this week.
Yeah. By the way, I think I had the low score there on that Oak Ridge Whitney. I think Jordan was in the middle number. So just I want to get
Gotcha.
my
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I like it. Now here's the real question. Is football going to be a similar score with Oak Ridge Whitney this year?
right. Monday, a week ago, I was at Vista Boys against El Camino, and I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick here as we have a lot to do. But Vista led most of the game, and they've been struggling. So it's like, oh, things are looking good. They're going to win here. They're up by 13 after 3 quarters and lost by 4. So disappointing game. But I will say this: 2 days later, they were on the road at Del Campo. Tie game with 10 seconds to go. They get Evan Romanix going to the hoop, gets fouled with 5 seconds to go, makes 2 free throws. Eagles rebounded for a 2-point win. So they overcame that disappointing loss to beat Del Campo on the road. So it's a nice rebound there. Wednesday, I went to, in the pouring rain, I might add, Folsom Soccer against Oak Ridge at Folsom. Pretty solid. Oak Ridge is a good team. They're behind Whitney and Granite Bay, just like a half a game or a few points, however you want to call it, in the SFL for first. But they won the game 3-0. Brian Ramirez scored twice for the Trojans, and then William Gezzi got the 3rd goal. Folsom, at that point, again, almost like Vista, a disappointing game for them. But 2 days later, they beat Rockland 4-0 for their first win of the season. So that was a nice comeback for them and a nice first win for them. And then Thursday, I went down to Elk Grove to watch Vista face Monterey Trail on girls basketball. 2 top teams. Monterey Trail's Division 1, Vista's Division 2, but a good test for the Eagles, and that's why they scheduled them. Monterey Trail jumped all over them in the first quarter, in the first 2 or 3 minutes of the second quarter, leading by 24. I mean, Vista's a very good team, but Monterey Trail hit everything. They hit 8 3-pointers in that amount in 11 minutes. And up by 24, and Vista just they made it all the way back to a 3-point game with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, but they couldn't come all the way back. But Monterey Trail's a good team, and I was telling Vista coach Marty Benjamin, I mean, you got Folsom, you got Antelope, you got St. Mary's. I wouldn't be surprised if Monterey Trail's that 4th team in the semis. D1, they get a nice squad. That's my first half of the week.
All right. Well, my first half of the week, it was covered some very different sports. It started on Monday with Colfax Bear River girls basketball. This was one of those rivalries that checks all the boxes off the floor. I think Colfax and Bear River are tied at 3rd in the Sac Joaquin section for girls basketball section titles in the program. They have 22 titles in between them, each of them with 11. And they were coming into this game both 4-0 in league play, and it felt like this was going to be, it felt like a big matchup. Colfax had the number last year. They won the league, but Bear River won the D5 section title. Colfax got bounced in the D4 semis. As far as the hype for this game, it was pretty much centered around the rivalry off the floor, because on the floor, Colfax won 67-26. I mean, they just really controlled this one from start to finish. I mean, I guess if you've seen the show, you know, we've given our flowers to Colfax this year because they've been impressive. They had 22 steals in the game. Macy Hyman had 16 points and 8 steals for the Falcons. Gabby Bittner had 14 points and 5 steals. Her sister Jade had 10 points, 3 steals. Coach Rexanne Simpson for Colfax kind of told me that defense was really what they were working on in this one. And they've really kind of focused on it all year. And she goes, we've done it against the teams that are, the quote unquote, like the bad teams in the league, or the teams you should beat pretty handily. And she goes, this was kind of the time that we beat a team that we knew was a solid offensive team. We knew was a good team. So she's like, I wanted to see this defensive performance against a strong team. Because the thing is, yeah, Colfax won by 41, but that's not a testament to Bear River being a bad team. Bear River is very much a section championship contender in Division 5. It's just Colfax is that good this year, and seeing them do that to a section championship contender, even if it's a division lower, I think that was a huge kind of jolt of confidence for Colfax as they're moving forward. And then Tuesday, I had a little two for a double whammy. I started the day. I actually drove up to Boreal to cover some high school snowboarding. I covered Colfax as they began their state championship defense. They have 68 riders on their team this year, the most they've ever had. Actually, according to the coach, that's 10% of the school is on the snowboard team. So that's kind of an impressive little stat. They're currently in second right now. An impressive start to the season for them. They're expecting, Cooper Best, Blake Ortega, Jack Clark to be big racers for them this year. And then Quincy Mora, the coach's daughter, and Kaylee Moore are expected to be some big riders as well. Coach Michael Mora told me that, he actually is expecting at least 10 riders to be competing in the state championship this year. So pretty cool to get to cover that. Also, an interesting story. When you're going up to cover snowboarding, if you guys are ever doing that, you get a day pass to whatever resort they're at for free to, walk around and stuff like that. The problem is they're doing slalom. So they're on a hill that's about that steep and it's in the snow, and the snowpack in the Sierra is pretty big right now. Now, look, I know I'm a little out of shape and whatnot, but I didn't realize that your little pass doesn't get you onto a ski lift or anything like that. Like, you got to walk everywhere you're going. So I had to pretty much trek up a mountain through a pretty bad snowpack. I mean, there were times where my feet were sinking, a foot into the snow. And let's just say that was a great workout. And, I broke a sweat before I even got to the race course in that. So that was impressive. But, after the snowboarding and, making the trek down the hill, I had to go get a little car wash. And then I was at high school wrestling for a quad meet between 12 Bridges, Bear River, Colfax, and Sutter. Now, 12 Bridges wrestled Bear River and Colfax. They went 1-1 on it. Bear River ended up beating them. Then 12 Bridges beat Colfax. Sutter went 2-0 in the Colfax Bear River didn't wrestle each other because they have a dual meet coming up tomorrow night, actually. But a couple takeaways. 12 Bridges is a young team. A lot of these kids haven't really wrestled before, and they're holding their own against some of these better wrestlers. Coach Steve Roman has talked about this team and said the learning curve is there because we don't even have seniors yet. A lot of these kids don't have experience, but the growth they've shown from beginning of the season to now is already immense. And, they have wrestlers. He's like, I'm expecting them to be a couple individuals to be in a running for a PVL title. And, maybe even he's like, I think most people in the league understand Sutter is probably the team to beat there. But, as far as team points, but he's like, we could give Bear River a run for their money and try to make a run for a team, second place in the league, something like that. So an impressive showing from 12 Bridges there in that. Aaron, I'll throw it back over to you for the second half of your week. What'd you see as the week kind of wrapped up?
Yeah, so on Wednesday I wasn't at any high school or college sports. I went and watched the Sharks actually beat the Stars, which was pretty fun to watch. But back to high school on Thursday, I was at Lincoln where the boys basketball team faced Ponderosa. Really was a tale of two halves in this one for the Zebras. They were up 26-19.5, played really great defense. But in the second half, they only put up 15 points to lose 62-41. For Ponderosa, Max Manfredi, the senior, played really well with 14 points and 14 rebounds. He actually last year was a junior on JV because he wasn't eligible to play varsity since he had just transferred in from Oak Ridge. So he's playing, and I know when I saw him last year, I was like, man, how is he not playing varsity? Because he, looked like LeBron James out there on JV. But no, he played really well, and Ponderosa, as we'll get into it the second half of the week, Jordan, with where you were at, and then obviously now the Zebras having 2 losses, Ponderosa's looking like they got the league title, not necessarily on lock, but it's the door is very cracked for other teams to get in right now. So that was Ponderosa in that one. And then on Friday, I was back at Whitney for girls soccer for this time as they took on Del Oro. And I will say I was a little bit surprised in this one. The Wildcats were and still are playing without one of their best players, Emily Farley. But still, the Wildcats, they only totaled 5 shots with 2 on target in the game. Their best chance came in the 65th minute with a free kick from Lauren Hunter that was saved by Gray Wilson. For Del Oro, they had 8 shots, and their lone score came from Kiana Fawcett, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, penalty kick in the 63rd minute. She played really well defensively as well. I think one of the big things in today's world of soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, is you need attackers and strikers who will also press defensively, and she really did that, and she did it very well. So the Golden Eagles are now 4-4-4. They're still 4th in the SFL, where the Wildcats are 8-4-6 and 3rd. But yeah, Del Oro played a good game, and it'll be interesting to see what they can do going forward.
All right, I like it. Yeah, I think that that whole league, the more we talk about it, I mean, feels like every sport, it's really down to the wire. And we'll probably get into it later in a few future episodes, but that league might be getting a little better too as the realignment picture clears up. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. That's for a later episode. Matt, over to you for the back half of your week. What were you at and what did you see?
Yeah, Friday night at Oak Ridge is the Folsom's annual trek up to El Dorado Hills for the rivalry showdown in basketball. Folsom had to sweep in this one. Folsom sometimes struggles at Oak Ridge shooting, but on this night, they won 65-41, which, what is that, 24-point game, which, isn't that close, but considering Folsom's been beating league opponents by double that, it was kind of a close game for Folsom. But anyway, Folsom, too much defensive pressure for the Trojans to handle. Oak Ridge struggled to get the ball past half court, and it didn't get much easier once they did get it past half court. So they had trouble scoring, and Sophia Minderman for Folsom had 6 3-pointers to lead all scores with 18 points, and that's almost half of what Oak Ridge had. Oak Ridge had a good fourth quarter. Folsom did have some of their, they had most of their backups in, but Oak Ridge still did some good things in the fourth quarter and come back and, make it respectable. So, that was the girls' game. And the boys' game, again, another low scoring one. Oak Ridge's defense played really well. They just couldn't score. Folsom won 53-42. Just a defensive battle. And like a lot of these rivalry games, they're always, close to the vest. Folsom led. It was really low scoring in the first half, 22-20 at halftime, I believe. And then the third quarter, they got, went on a little 6-0 run just to make it like an 8 or 10-point game, and Oak Ridge couldn't recover from that. CJ Willenberg led the Bulldogs with 17 points. Micah Johnson, who went to Oak Ridge as a freshman, and the fans were all over him all game long, and he had some clutch shots in that game, and he finished with 12. So he really rose up. And Jacob Olson led the Trojans with 15 points. And Saturday night, I was at the Crosstown Cup for the annual Crosstown Cup for Vista and Folsom soccer teams. This past Saturday was the boys' game, freshman, JV, and then varsity in the nightcap. And the Vista varsity won 1-0 on a goal by Joey Leonardi off a corner kick halfway through the second half. Record-wise, Vista is like I said earlier, Folsom only has 1 win this season. Vista's probably in first place in the Cal. So, kind of probably a little better team, but this game was close. Folsom played pretty well, but Vista had many more scoring chances than the Bulldogs did. But good competitive game, nice crowd, and the girls' game is this coming Saturday, so that should be another good one.
All right, I like it. Matt, I know earlier you alluded to a comeback that Vista Del Lago was on the wrong end of. A blown lead, and I had one of those of my own on Thursday night. I was at Placer West Park boys basketball. West Park came into this one at 15-4, but the strength of schedule wasn't great. Placer was 16-3, with a little bit of a tougher strength of schedule, and I think there were a lot of questions of how good is West Park? Where do they really stack up in this league? And Placer controlled this one from the start, and they were up double digits for the majority of the game. And it was with a little bit over 2 minutes left. Placer was up 60-49. And it was like, okay, well, West Park is good, but they're not quite on that level yet. And all of a sudden, West Park finishes the game on a 13-1 run and ends up beating Placer 62-61. Sophomore Mason Johnson hit the game-winning shot with 2.5 seconds left, and then he actually intercepted the inbound pass on the ensuing possession to kind of complete the comeback, and no one was around him, so Placer didn't even get a chance to foul. Johnson was he scored 5 points in the game. All 5 came in the fourth quarter, and I got to look back at my notes, but I'm pretty sure all 5 came in the last 2 minutes of the game. I mean, he's coming off an injury. I asked him afterward, I go, was that plane drawn up for you, or what was going on? And he goes, the ball kind of just wound up in my hands. And there's the clock's winding down. He had the cleanest look at his shot. They couldn't really make any other pass. So, I asked him, I'm like, what was going through your head? And he goes, there wasn't much going through my head. I just drove and put it up. And next thing I remember, the ball was going through the hoop, and my teammates were just, mobbing me as Placer called a timeout. So, I asked the coach, and West Park's coach, John Hunter, I said, what'd you tell them, down 11 with just over 2 minutes to play? Because it looked like Placer was just shutting them down. He goes, I wish I could tell you I gave them some inspirational speech, but I just told them, like, play to our standard of basketball. And, he did that. Andre Anderson was really huge in the comeback too. He had 4 or 5 steals that turned into fast break points. He scored 9 of his 12 points in the fourth quarter. West Park 6'10" junior Talis Torre scored 21 points. He was huge for them. He was dominant on the boards too, and he had a few big shots. And for Placer, that's a tough one because this is the second time in league play. They're 2-2 in league, and in both games they've had a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter that they have blown through turnovers and just getting away from their brand of basketball. So, I don't know if it's taking the foot off the gas a little too early. I don't know if it's maybe just getting a little too complacent and maybe starting to slow things down and thinking that things are gonna end. And I don't know, they got to figure it out. And it's something that you got to figure out quick because you're already halfway through the league season pretty much, and 2-2 in league with 2 blown leads is not going to make people happy. And apparently for some reason my Zoom is not Zoom Pro anymore. So yeah, we've got 10 minutes left on the episode, so let's I guess I'll wrap it up with that. That was pretty much where I was for the week. So yeah, West Park gets a 62-61 win. And speaking of Placer, this week I'll be checking them out again on Tuesday. I will be at their game against Oakmont. They're really in need of a league win. They beat Yuba City on Saturday, a non-league game, but they really need a get-right league win, especially with Ponderosa on Friday. They've got to find a way to get this win in Oakmont. It's a team they should beat. I expect Placer to have this one. I expect them to get a double-digit lead and hang on to it here. And then, a couple other games I'll be at Wednesday. I'm going to be at Colfax boys basketball as they play Wheatland, looking for their second straight win after kind of a rough couple of weeks there as they want to get back in to the league race. Kind of undecided on where I'm going to be towards the end of the week. So, we'll, I guess, stay tuned for the next episode, see where I'm at. Aaron, over to you. Where are you going to be this week?
Yeah, so I'm hitting a few things this week. Let me pull up. Right, okay, here we go. So tonight, I'm recording this on Monday. I'll be announcing, covering the Lincoln versus Ponderosa girls basketball game and what could be a battle for the league title. Lady Zebras have outscored their first 3 league opponents by a combined 123 points. Ponderosa is 19-2, but have only outscored their opponents in league by 52. Ponderosa is currently ranked 16th in the section, while the Zebras are 18th. I expect the Zebras to win this by about 12 to 15 points and shoot up in the rankings. Tuesday, I'll be at Wood Creek for boys soccer versus Antelope. After this, I will have seen every team I cover outside of the Roseville girls team. Wood Creek's currently 3-5-5 and lost 1-0 to the Titans last time at Antelope. Ethan Downey and Herman Melees both have 3 goals for the Timberwolves. They desperately need a win as they're currently 5th in the CBC, but only about a game and a half back of second place. Wednesday, I'll be announcing, covering the Lincoln versus West Park boys basketball game. The Panthers upset Placer on Friday and have a lot of momentum going in. Should be a great test to also see how the Zebras bounce back from that loss against Ponderosa. Thursday, I have a couple choices. One is West Park at Oakmont girls basketball. The other, which I'm leaning more towards to, is covering Valley Christian at Sac Adventist for boys and girls basketball. Adventist beat VCA boys, while Valley Christian beat Adventist girls the first time around at Valley Christian. For the girls, girls. It's a rematch of the section title last season. And then on Friday, I'll be at Sierra College as the Wolverines face Cosumnes River College for men's and women's basketball. Women won the matchup at Cosumnes River last time, while the men lost that matchup.
All right, I like it. Matt, over to you. You got a busy week ahead, I'm sure, as well. Where are you going to be?
Yeah, up at Oak Ridge Wednesday night. They host Vista Girls in a non-league game. These two teams played December 8th, and Oak Ridge won on a 3-point shot at the buzzer. So a non-league game, but it should be a good one. The rest of the week looks like soccer. Thursday, Vista boys are at Del Campo, and that's literally the only game on my schedule, so that wins by default. Friday, I have a couple choices, but I haven't seen. I only seen Oak Ridge girls soccer once, so I might go see them host Whitney. And then Saturday is Crosstown Cup on the girls' side, Folsom versus Vista.
All right. So busy week up here. To kind of wrap this one up, I guess give me some of the best performances you saw of the week as we wrap this episode up. Aaron, let's start with you. Who were some athletes that stood out to you?
Yep. So my Lincoln area athlete of the week is 12 Bridges Junior Kellen Collier for basketball. He's the younger brother of Morgan Collier, who was the volleyball star last year at Lincoln and is now playing at the University of Oregon. Kellen had 17 points and 11 rebounds in a win over Center last Wednesday, and the Rhinos have won 3 in a row. Zach Giles, 2 goals and assists, and in a 5-0 win over Pondo last Thursday. And then Katie Leith, a triple-double, 15 points, 18 rebounds, 10 blocks, and a 69-23 win over Oakmont. And then for South Placer, my athlete of the week is West Park freshman. We haven't really had a freshman, I don't think, from South Placer yet in a while at least. Haley Doty, 3 goals and 2 assists, accounted for all 5 goals in a 5-5 draw against Placer High on Friday night. And then Del Oro basketball, Caden Pennick, 23, and Brandon Hill, 22 points in a win over Granite Bay on Friday night.
All right, I like it. Matt, what about you? What were some of the best performances you saw?
Yeah, I mentioned some performances earlier, but my athlete of the week is Vista senior point guard Alexa Moore. The Eagles are 6-0 in the Cal and 15-5 overall. She's a 3-year varsity player. She leads the team in assists, obviously, or naturally, 3 a game, 3.8 a game, almost 4, and steals, and is second in minutes played and points per game. And she's a big reason why the Eagles are 6-0 in the Cal.
All right, I like it. For me, I'm gonna have to say, Macy Hyman with the impressive performance. Like I said, she had 16 points and 8 steals for Colfax. That was a big one for them. Same with Gabby Bittner, 14 points, 5 steals. These are 2 athletes that, I guess they kind of get mentioned a lot in the athlete of the week talks, but they're consistently just doing this, and it's really impressive. Also, I want to give maybe a shout out to a team of the week. We'll say Forest Hill girls basketball are 9-0 in league play and 19-4 overall. They're projected to be one of the top teams in their division this year. Right now, they're looking at the 2 seed in Division 6 right now, just behind Faith Christian. So, shout out to them. And then a couple of football standouts. I know you're saying, but Jordan, it's not football season. But the Optimist game was over the weekend, and Del Oro's Akio Martinson had 2 sacks and 3 tackle for loss for the South in that game. And then Kenny Goal of Colfax had 4 catches in the game. So, shout out to them playing in the Optimist game. It's great to see that one back. And I know the South may have not been on the winning end of that one, but it's an awesome experience for these kids to get to represent their school and, mingle with some of these other players from places that they wouldn't necessarily, when's the next time a Colfax kid and a Del Oro kid are going to be on the same field together in football. And, it's kind of cool for these kids, big school, small school. It shows that, no matter where you're at, if you are good enough, you're going to get noticed. And, as far as this week goes for sports, I think that's going to just about do it for what we've got. Before we really get going, does anyone have anything they want to add?
I'm good.
Oh, good.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's episode of the Sports Jam. I've been Jordan.
I've been Aaron.
I am Matt.
We will see you next week.